always, I'm going to introduce the players briefly, and then we'll get started. First up, we have Tazarath, played by... Hello?
Hello, this is Cerulean. I am playing Tazarath.
Tell us a little bit about your
I may
character.
or no.
Okay. Snake and Fixer Upper, you are next.
Yeah, Ryan Nug is playing Fixer Upper, and Fixer Upper is a half-orc cleric of war.
Of War. And Snake?
Snake is a Yanti sorcerer.
Marvelous. I also have a meme to send you later. And we also are joined by Melrath. Melrath, say hello.
Oh shit, sorry, I had to push the button. It's Starving 827 playing as the Dwarf Warrior Melra.
Okay. And last but not least, we have Bob, played by...
Not Bob. And Bob is a what is a tiefling warlock. I always forget.
Marvelous. Marvelous. Okay. Then let's pick up where we left off last time. And for that... Oh, I still have the map for the wrong thing up.
Don't forget your voices this time.
My voices?
Please forget your voices this time.
Oh no, voices are a permanent addition of Dungeons and Dragons. They're always going to be here. There's nothing you can do to get rid of them.
And where are we going? Doobie doobie doo dop. Blurby derp.
Hold on a second. I remember what it was. Oh, I did have the right map. Damn it.
Snooby doo bork bork bork.
Okay. I'm going to share this so that it pops up on all your screens.
No. Oh.
Ha-ha!
Whoa.
Oh yeah, I remember.
That's a big map.
It is a very big map. Last time, the party had found their way into this cave complex, and they had a couple of different options. They could go to the north, they could go to the south, they could go to the west. And initially, they chose to go to the south, following some monsters that they saw. They sent a scout ahead, and they discovered that there were 2 hook horrors hanging out down there. And so the party decided to pile in and trap them down at the end of this dead end cave. And the end result was that an NPC died a horrible death. I believe he was bisected by a hook horror, and uh, one of the hook horrors was also turned into a sofa, I believe.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then the party decided to take a nap in the hook horror nest, and you guys are currently planning to sell hook horror eggs at the next opportunity. And then after you'd taken your rest, you went off to the north through the northern circled area right here, and you've come into this northern area because you had come across several gnolls that were attempting to patrol the area, and you thought you would be able to come up behind them and surprise them, but to your chagrin, they detected you and were prepared for the battle. And the battle went fairly well in your favor, I'd say. I don't remember if we had offered the opportunity to heal, but most characters aren't down by a ton, except for Snake. So before we get going further on anything else, does anyone in the party, does the Fixer Upper want to heal Snake? Does Snake want to, do something to regain hit points? Or are you just going to go with it?
I'll probably burn a spell, I guess.
Okay.
I would use my lay on hands on you, but I already did on myself.
One of the other things that I would offer...
You laid hands on yourself?
Yes, I did. 2 hands.
I don't understand why people keep laughing when I say.
One of the other things that I found is helpful at the lower levels, when playing as a cleric myself, was people are always crying out for healing. There were times when I just let people go down. because when they go down, as long as they don't get instantly killed, which doesn't happen too often, any healing that you do, it starts from 0, not whatever negative number that they were brought to. So as a result, you can just pop them up to full with that, and it kind of works out in your favor. So anyways, there's a Scott. Hold on just for a second, everyone. I want to say hello to my husband. I'll be right back.
I will take this opportunity to BRB.
Thank you for being patient. I am back. Okay, so, right. See, Snake has been healed, and
Yes.
moving right along. Your current options for the party are the spaces that I have kind of laid out for you, and I guess I could always put the draw on in draw mode. Here, 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 and here are all unexplored areas. So, pick up a token, drop it in that area, and we'll go explore that area next.
Let's go toward the north. I would say here or over there.
Okay, that's the next area that you guys are going to explore. So give me just a moment, because I want to consult something else. Oops. Open that, close that.
Oh, right. There's a bunch more gnolls in here, it sounds like.
Could be. Actually, you know what? That's a fair point. I think when you say sounds like, that makes me realize, yes, it literally does sound like that. You guys can still hear the gibbering of other gnolls in these passages. Now, the current, if you guys want to make some quick perception checks, that will give me an opportunity to see if I can tell you what direction approximately you think they're located at, while I reveal some terrain. Delete mask, no. Enter mask mode, that's what I want.
25. That should do it.
Is that the
Yeah.
highest?
Well, okay. I'll roll to my other character, too.
I mean, it certainly beats my 5.
Yeah, that it does. I'll go like that. Okay, 25 is perfect. So the fixer-upper, of course, it has one of the sharpest sets of senses in the party. He is able to pretty precisely pinpoint that at the current moment, I'm going to do some counting of actual squares. 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. Actually, I can do the big one, can't I? 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80. They are at least 80 feet away from you. They sound like they are off due west of here. And
Okay.
as you guys start to explore through the caverns, you loop back around and over to the area that you were, because you have a sense that it's going to loop back to the area that you entered this cave complex from. And you find that there's another one of those little side passages kind of been dug into the wall. And now that you guys have been going through this area quite a bit, you can also sort of get the sense of where the hook horrors have actually burrowed through some of the wall. And this is another one of those little shortcuts that they've created in the cave wall. There's still space down to the south of here that is of yet unexplored, but if you want to cross over and try to get a scout in on the location of Knowles, this might actually be the best way to go. The west, I mean. So pick up a character, move them to where you want to explore next.
Melrath, you're in front, so you're in the lead.
Okay. Righty then. Are you guys going to send a scout, or are you all going to pass through this space?
Well, we don't have a rogue, so sure, go with that one.
Okay. Are you going to have Snake roll a stealth check?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I will roll. So with Snake moving through here, let's go like this. Okay. So when you come through the other side of the passage, there's an area to the south, and now that you've moved through, you actually have a bit more of a direct sense of where the gnolls are likely coming from. And to the south of you and to the west, there's that little piece right here, which I'll highlight a little further. And you have a feeling that they're down that particular passageway. Um, and you can hear them. They seem to be mulling around in that area. They might be conversing or Lord knows what, but that's where they're located. You're fairly certain.
Quick interruption. Is there a feat that one of us in the party can get, say, Snake, that would improve stealth?
I'm actually fairly certain that there is. Give me just a moment.
Since we'll need to have a makeshift rogue, I guess.
Mhm. So there's a feat called Skilled. You gain proficiency in any combination of 3 skills or 3 tools, your choice.
Okay.
And technically, any character with a criminal background has tool proficiency in Thieves' Tools, which lets you use your proficiency bonus plus your dexterity bonus to pick locks. If any character that doesn't have proficiency in Thieves' Tools tries to pick locks, they just use their dexterity bonus to do so.
Hmm.
Okay. Anyways, but with skilled, that would allow you to become proficient in stealth, and then as you level up, proficiency changes faster than stats. So,
Okay.
but aside from that, there is also Skulker. You are expert at slinking through shadows. You gain the following benefits: you can try to hide when you are lightly obscured from the creature from which you are hiding. When you are hidden from a creature and miss it with a ranged weapon attack, making the attack doesn't reveal your position, and dim light doesn't impose disadvantage on your perception checks that rely on sight. But it doesn't actually give you like proficiency in stealth or anything.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So close that out. Anyways, so are you going to continue to scout ahead and definitively locate the gnolls, or?
That's a good question. Are we trying to avoid them or to annihilate?
I mean, they were pretty easy last time. But then we run the risk of running into whatever they're serving, right?
Yeah, they have mentioned a name, Yinogu. I believe that last time it was roughly determined that Yinogu is likely. Oh, that's fine. Likely a god of the gnolls, just one that they generally serve, as opposed to like a leader. So you might not necessarily be worried about whether or not you're going to run into the gnolls god, as it were.
It's just if we lose the fight against them, they're going to eat us, basically.
Alive, yes.
Yes. Which is a hell of a way to go.
Yes, indeed.
Hmm.
So,
Um,
do you want me to pull up a vote? I can do a vote.
Personally, I'm in favor of fighting them, but
Okay. Just so that you guys are aware, and I'm not advocating any particular action, but in 5th edition, it has been made a part of the rules that if you evade a fight encounter, you get the experience for that encounter. You no longer have to do fights in order to advance in levels.
Wait, say that again?
In previous editions of Dungeons and Dragons, there are only 2 ways to get experience: complete a quest, which usually has an experience reward, or fight monsters. However, what they came to realize was that there are often times when players can pull very clever tactics and evade a fight altogether. And it felt like those players were actually being punished because they came up with something really clever, but they didn't get any experience for evading the fight. So 5th edition, in an attempt to balance that out a little bit, has said if you can evade a fight that you otherwise would have had to do, either by talking or clever tactics, the players are to be rewarded with the experience that they would have gotten for defeating the monsters. So technically now the only air quotes punishment that you get is simply that you don't gain whatever gear or reward or treasure those monsters carried. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
well,
Honestly,
fighting them wasn't much fun last time.
Okay, so I'm
So
gonna
it's
move.
not only.
Mhm.
Furthermore, the more time we spend trying to hunt these guys down, the closer our drow pursuers get.
Mm-hmm.
That is potentially true. However, based on the notes that I have about your pursuit counter, you have a significant lead on them already.
Yeah, we've been moving briskly.
Yes, and in fact, when we finish up with this hook horror layer, we are going to have a discussion about travel speed to see if you guys want to change things up. So more importantly, at the moment, here's a vote. If you vote X, the X will be to evade gnolls to the extent possible. If you vote check, it will be to fight the gnolls and just clear them out of this area so you don't have to worry about them. Okay, the vote is clear. The party is going to be moving towards evasion. So in light of that, Snake, do you want to do particular scouting around? Um, you get to keep your stealth roll for now.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that an action would require you to make a stealth roll, I will make you aware of that before you do it.
Okay. Okay, I will try to creep along to the south, perhaps, a bit.
Sure, just move your character to there, okay? So here's what I'll reveal. About there. About there. There you go. That's about as much as you can see. Actually, let me double check. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Oh, no, I was wrong. I was off by 2 squares. Down to here, here, and here. That's what you can see. There's a passageway up 60 feet ahead of you that also goes off to the west. Now, at this point, you guys have yet to find anything that actually leads out of here, but the gnolls got in somehow, and they certainly didn't come the way that you came. So, in all likelihood, there is another path out.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'll move a little bit closer to the west.
Okay, drop yourself off where you want to go, and I'll start counting out squares. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay. So I want to go say this and like that. And I believe that you also reveal enough to be able to see the walls down here. There we go. Now, the area to the west, you can see that there are 4 gnolls milling around in the area, and they seem to be having a discussion amongst themselves while a much larger gnoll is sniffing the air and kind of, investigating the general space. He seems to be looking at tracks on the ground as well. Um, he um, he is about 2 feet taller than his compatriots. He looks a bit bulkier. He has a little bit nicer gear, in fact. He has glaives instead of the javelins that the other gnolls had, which were pretty primitive. He also seems to have a longbow equipped and a chain shirt. And he also has a large scar over one eye, and he is missing half of his nose.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's seen some shit.
Yeah, he has in fact seen some shit. Now, the other gnolls, while they're standing around cautiously, it actually doesn't even take much of an insight check to see that they are very, very clearly watching him for exactly whatever the fuck it is that he's going to do. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to very softly double back to where the party is.
Okay. Okay, so now that you're back with the party, I
I'm
always
just gonna
assume that you're just going to update them.
right.
Right, yeah. So with this information, what do you guys want to do from here? Because the other thing is that while he's milling around in this area for now, you know that these gnolls have been fairly mobile and patrolling the area already. Because the first ones you encountered moved off to the north to investigate. So, what's the plan?
Maybe we could move off to the north. This passageway looks, if it looks the way it looks further up there, it might be pretty good in terms of, um, not allowing anyone to get surrounded. So.
Okay. Do you want to go alone and check the space out first, or are you bringing?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Drag yourself to wherever, and I'll start revealing terrain. Okay. 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay. So I get to go like that and like that, I believe, if I counted that out properly. Perfect, perfect. There. And then for this, you can see, I can just go like that, in fact. Okay, so up to the north, there is another sort of large cave opening. There's a number of stalagmites on the ground. There's a passageway off to the west. And then also to the southwest, there's kind of this curve that comes back up to some extent, how far you can't see. But this area so far is very clearly, devoid of gnolls.
All right.
That sounds like what we want.
Yeah, I'll inform the party, and then I think we should go up there.
Okay. Move you guys up, selves up to wherever you want to head to. Okay. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay. So you can see all of that. Let me scroll up a little bit and go like this. Whoa. There we go. Okay, so it continues on a bit to the west, and you can see there's another passageway and like that. So relocate yourselves again to continue exploring. Okay. Should be able to see to about here because of angles. There. This passageway, unfortunately, seems to curve back around in the general direction of south, which is kind of, as you can see, where those gnolls were. So this might not be quite the right path if you're hoping to evade.
We might need to skulk past, back through the little passage and then to the south, perhaps.
Okay. Is that what
That's
the party
my
wants
thing.
to do?
Yeah, you mean back where we found the hook horrors?
Here, hold on just a second. I'm going to draw on the map. Right here, I believe is where Chris is saying. Yes, Chris? Is that it? You might
Which
have to
one?
scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, it's all the way down. It's pretty far.
Not. Well, yeah.
Right where that black mass of drawing is. That's what I thought you meant. Yeah, that nest right there. Let me also.
Yeah, tell Fargus to go look at it.
Well, he is a spy. Selection nodes. Where is it? Drawing.
Can we have NPCs explore for us?
You can,
I think-
but if he never comes back, you won't see anything. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm only revealing it right now because a player is doing it.
hmm
But anyways, that's also an option. You guys can wait where you are and tell Fargus to go deal with it.
I say we all go down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody.
We don't want to keep losing our NPCs.
Hold on just a second. Don't place yourselves too much further. Right about here. When we get to this point, and I'm just using Snake as an example, it has become clear that the gnolls are heading along this passage right here, and they're going to intersect with this area. Because they're not especially quiet about this, so I'm not requiring a perception check to know that.
And which way are they heading?
I know that that's a kind of crappy drawing, but I don't have great tools for this.
Which way are they heading?
Here, I'm sorry. Let me clear that and then go like this.
It looks like they're heading the way we want to go.
Oh.
Yeah, they're headed into this area.
So maybe we could sneak past them.
You can double back the way that you were going and maybe occupy the space over here that is now empty. Okay, so move yourselves back. Actually, hold on just a second. Don't there. Check the chat, please. I sent one person a message.
I think it's 30.
Okay.
And it's really only communicating with people.
As opposed to what?
I don't know. Yeah, it's 30 feet.
Alrighty then. So moving on then. I'm gonna grab Fixer Upper and drop him there. Okay, so I'm just gonna execute on this and enter mask mode. There we go. Go like that. So you guys can indeed see that this is moving into that open area. Are you going to send Snake ahead to scout, or are you guys just going to keep moving at like about the pace you think the gnolls are moving and trust that that makes it work out in your favor?
Go ahead, Snake.
Okay, I want him to die anyway.
I got nothing.
Marvelous.
I mean, I don't want you to die, but
Okay, so there you go. Now, based on this location, you can hear up ahead into the cavern, and without rolling a perception check, you don't hear anything right away. There's no water dripping from the ceiling or anything. There's no other sounds that would otherwise obscure your ability to detect noise in the immediate vicinity, and for that matter.
What's in this little area to my east? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I was just noticing. You still don't really hear anything up ahead. And you can see pretty well into the darkness. So, are you going to scout ahead? Move yourself if so.
yeah, maybe we can just try to sneak past the gnolls while they're not there. To the south.
Hmm. Okay. So moving to that point, I'm going to reveal this. So now that you can see into this cavern, you guys have a clear sense that I just want to check distance 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Within 60 feet, you can see no gnolls. Um, uh, they haven't been especially stealthy so far, so unless they're lying in wait with you, this area should be pretty clear. Does anybody move into the cavern?
Yes. There I moved.
Oh, you're gonna have to go right into the center. Like this. Here you go.
There.
No, it's not far enough. There we
There.
go. You
Eh,
guys move into the cavern
eh.
and find that nothing ambushes you. So at this point, I believe this should actually be revealed now. There's another passageway that is being revealed that curves around there, which is unexplored area. And yeah, so move yourselves ahead when you're ready to explore.
We'll stay along the back.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay, so out to here. That's as far as you can see.
Oh,
And actually, I'll reveal a little bit more because one character is further forward. You can see this. Like, I can do this all day, you guys. There we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I believe, here. So let me go like that, and then like that. There we go.
are there any gnolls down there?
So as you guys explore further ahead, you don't hear any gnolls just yet, but you do hear the sounds of a. Well, actually, you're not quite sure what it is. You hear some. It gets a little echoey in here. Caves, generally speaking, are kind of echoey. But you're hearing some sort of snapping, or maybe it's a pop noise. It's a bit distorted by all the echo, so you're not quite certain.
So, can I roll perception?
Anybody can roll perception, try to identify it.
Hata.
Wow.
Okay, Tazarath.
Wow, Tazarath coming through.
Yeah, I mean, there's 5% chance to roll any number. So anyways, Tazarath listens for a while and he just snaps his fingers. I know what that is. That's a fire. There's a fire up ahead. Now, the light hasn't actually come out far enough for you guys to be able to pick it up, which is probably part of what threw you off in the first place. But yeah, pretty nearby here. And in fact, I'm going to switch over to draw mode again. Here, there is likely to be a campfire up ahead.
Meh.
Okay.
I think we should sneak past.
Well,
See if there's gnolls there, and if there are, we can ambush them while they're over there.
okay. Well, so far Snake still has a stealth roll. Do you want to send him ahead to scout?
Yeah, snake. GTFO.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay, perfect. So don't move. I'm gonna go like, actually, that works out kind of well. Go like that, and then go like, whoa, 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 not that.
Ah.
There we go. And like that.
Ha, 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 ha,
Okay,
ha.
so now that Snake has moved into position, up ahead you can see that there is a small camp set up ahead. Now, give me a second to make a roll.
Uh-oh.
Okay. The gnolls have set up a small camp, and by small camp, they have a fire, which is ringed with rocks, which is hilarious because the fire can't spread anywhere here, but apparently that's what they've done. It is it's halfway through its life as a campfire, meaning that it's not roaring, but it is starting to descend into embers. Yet there are still some actual flames. There are no sleeping mats all over the area with a variety of different animal furs that you really don't recognize. However, rather than actually be on guard, the three gnolls that are present are actually asleep. And so they are laid. One of them is by the campfire, and he's kind of, dozing to the side, and then 2 more of them are on sleeping rags. And
How many javelins do you have? Stabby stab.
Honestly, somebody who could sneak in there and assassinate them would be a very useful thing.
Well, isn't the other Knoll party like right through this passageway over to the other side?
Right, hence the stealth.
Give me just
If-
a second. You believe that the gnolls are approximately in this. What the fuck? What can I draw? Whoa, that was weird. Sorry. Approximately in that area where I drew the X.
Where?
You're gonna have to scroll around a little on your map to see it.
Oh, the other Knolls. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm proficient in deception. Does that mean I can deceive them?
Hold on just a second. I'm double checking something. Okay. I was checking because one of the things that occurred to me was I'd never seen the coup de grace rules in 5th edition, and so I did a very quick Google check on it, and here's what they basically said. Oh, hold on a second. This might be... No. Oh, that's actually totally irrelevant. Here's what I'm going to say then. As far as coup de grace goes, if a stealthy character walks up to a gnoll and stabs it in the heart, in the head, wherever it is that you want to try to insta-kill it, they can do so. It won't break stealth, as it were, because I'm assuming that by virtue of stealth, you're doing it silently. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So there's also no need for you to roll anything. It's just if you guys want to take that approach, Snake moves in, slits their throats. That's the end of it.
Do
Okay.
they make noise and wake up?
Well, no, it's a stealth kill. Like they might wake up as they're in the process of dying, but at that point,
Well, I would think so.
Right.
At that point, there's not much for them to do. Like if you get your throat slit, I think you've got, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes tops. And you can
Minutes?
spend that grasping your throat. But they also won't make any hyena noises that will alert anyone else because their throat will be slit.
There's too much logic in this game.
Yeah, no, it's so tough to follow. Anyways, I think that's reasonably what I can expect them to do. Yes.
Yeah, and just a quick question: is this to the south of where we are currently, like right here? Is that like a passageway?
Yeah, side passageway. It was an option before. You guys were coming
Oh, okay.
around
All
to the
right.
south,
All right.
and got cut off. So,
I see.
okay. So at this point, let me double check because I want to see if they also have. They do not. Okay. Okay. So, Snake slithers into the room, which actually works so perfectly for the stealth kill. One by one, he moves through the area. You have some bladed weapon, I'm sure.
I have a dagger. Yeah.
Yeah. Using your
That's
dagger,
kind of important.
you slit their
Mhm.
throat and then stab it right into their skull. Take them out one by one, and they are instantly killed. So as you finish, these gnolls are equipped a little bit differently than the group that you came across before, and because the party has sort of generally limited options for their weapon choices. These creatures are equipped with hide armor, which I don't think anybody needs, a shield, which someone might want. They also have a spear for their melee or ranged weapon, because you can still throw spears, just not very far. It's like if you want to roll without disadvantage, it's 20 feet, but their maximum range is 60 feet with disadvantage. Anyway, so spears are there, and then they have longbows and a bunch of arrows. So if anybody wants a longbow, it is now available. There are 3 present.
So they have a shield and a spear, so it's a one-handed spear, right?
Well,
Okay.
spears have an option in this edition. There are various weapons that are called versatile, and what
Oh,
versatile
okay.
means is they can be wielded two-handed, and if you do, the die goes up by 1. So spears are D6. If you wield them two-handed, they're D8. And so you can wield them one-handed and have a shield.
Oh, so they're just 1d6 if they're one-handed.
And 1d8 if two.
Well, I'll grab the shield for Fixer Upper then.
Okay. Feel free to put that on him, and just grab it from the items area. I think you know where to go.
Oh, never mind. I already have one. Whoops.
Well, if anybody else wants one, now's your opportunity to grab it. So now that you've done that, let me also... Whoa.
Oh, well.
Erase that. That's not what I meant to do. Clear drawing. Clear drawing. Thank you. And serious. Whatever. Anyways, at this point, you guys have actually found another passageway that leads out of here. Clear drawing. Thank you. What the fuck? Do you guys see a drawing on your screen?
No.
Okay. Then it's fucked up on mine. Anyways, you found a passageway that leads out of here. So at this point, you will be able to make your way away from the knolls and continue on with your travels. So you have successfully
Let's do it.
in this area. So give me a second to also pull up the story mode and go to the next thing.
I've grabbed a longbow and shield as well.
Okay.
Isn't a greatsword two-handed, Chris?
It is.
But it
Bloop.
needs the
You're
range.
just a hoarder, that's what it comes down to.
Oh, yeah.
I am.
So at this point, as you guys are traveling, I'm also going to give you all the benefits of a long rest real quick, because between now and the next event, you will have had an opportunity to rest. So at this point, you guys have a good head start on your opponents, the drow that have been pursuing you. If you want, you can attempt to take a normal pace from here on out, just knowing that you'll essentially be maintaining the lead rather than trying to push yourselves to widen the gap. Or do you just want to make it there as fast as possible?
And the advantage of slowing down is
The advantage of slowing down is that your food supplies, you have about 4 or 5 days left. But if you were to slow down a bit, you would be able to not only make some progress in the day, but spend a little bit of time doing some searching in the surrounding area, see if you can find edible fungus or native animals that you could hunt for food. And you wouldn't draw on your supplies as much as you have. And it worked out just fine. Getting to the point that you have, drawing
Now,
roughly
the
on that.
quick question: the supplies that you say we have, you mentioned there was a bunch of dried meat in the Hook Horror Cave, and I took that. Does the food supply include that
Yes.
in your calc? Okay.
Yes, because you guys have you had a week when you started, and you've already been out for like 6 days already. So the dried meat actually significantly extended your supplies.
Okay.
So do you want to maintain the fast speed or move at a slower pace?
I say we get there fast.
I'm fine with a slower pace for a day, but let's alternate.
Okay, well, just be aware that one of the other downsides to a fast pace is that one of the things that's a little harder, and I just want to double check because I'm going to come up with a spell. Let me check something. Action. Never mind. 10 gallons of water. Okay. The only other thing that I would add is that there are currently, and I'm checking this huge list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people, and you are able to create 10 gallons of water for 12 people every day. So every person in the party is getting a little bit under a gallon of water each day that you move at a fast pace, which can leave you dehydrated after a little while. So slowing down, you also have the opportunity to search for water. Food is a little less has less of an immediate need, but the water is still pretty important. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that because it is something that I am watching. But as always, I'll give you a warning when you're starting to get thirsty because you would know that normally. So for now, you guys head out, and there's one other thing I'm looking for. Go to story again, and
Fixer upper can create water too.
that's where your water is coming from.
Oh, okay.
You're
So
not
that's where
carrying
you
it
get.
with you because water is way too heavy for you to really carry with you like much of a supply.
So thank you for not taking that spell slot from me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Give me a second here. I'm looking for what the fuck. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Nope, I did that one. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Found it. Okay, so you guys proceed off into the distance. For the first day, you're actually able to rest just fine. In fact, you came into a cave that is a little bit sheltered and easily defended. And you see signs that other people may have used this as a camp like a long time ago, months ago at minimum. And it makes for a really easy spot for you guys to rest and feel relatively safe, which is a nice change of pace given recent conditions. Um, as you continue to move on, however, you are you move into another area, and you find that there is a space up ahead of you that is filled with webs. The webs extend for hundreds of feet, and they crisscross the rather large passageway. Like a lot of these passageways, for the most part, are like, I don't know, 6 to 8 feet wide and the same height usually. But in this particular area, the space is about 20 feet across. It's just, as a diameter. Um, and there are webs crossing from the ceiling to the floor all over the different place. If you want to move through that particular area, you're going to have to try to cut your way through. But there is an alternative that you could double back and try to take another path altogether.
We could also burn our way through.
You could try that, but it would draw a lot of attention. Light in the Underdark, after all.
I mean, that's true. Or we could do both. Burn it down and double back.
Then why burn it at all if you're going to double back anyways?
To draw attention to it while we're not
Oh, okay, that works too. What do you guys think?
as the conflagration rages.
I think he just wants to watch the world burn.
I hear that's true of some people. So does anybody not want to do that plan?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay. Somebody in the party has Firebolt. I'm 90% sure of it. So,
I do.
You shoot off a firebolt. You shoot off a couple of them. They impact on the webs. They start setting it on fire. It takes a little while actually for everything to catch, which is a bit surprising considering how dry it is down here. But the webs are a bit moist for whatever reason. And then once the fire starts to pick up a bit, you can hear and now see, thanks to the light, that there were a number of giant spiders. And because you set the fire and it's burning towards them, it actually drives the giant spiders away from you. But you can hear some noises from further down that passageway as well that don't sound like giant spiders. And at that point, you decide to take an alternate route.
Backing away carefully.
That alternate route leads to a ravine. It's about 35 feet across, and it looks like it might be as much as 40 feet down, and it's spanned by an old rope bridge. Um, the tunnel connects directly to this, and then the ravine cuts across it. So when you're on the bridge, you can see that it extends out, a good distance to the east and west of where you are. Um, so yeah, are you guys going to be able to just cross, or do you not trust it?
Let's see. Is there some sort of spell that one of us could do? Nobody has men.
No, nobody has mend.
Mm.
Now the bridge is old. It seems to be in fairly decent condition just by a quick visual inspection. Like all the planks are, attached appropriately. It looks like it's secure into the wall. It's just, you can only inspect one side of the bridge.
I have a spell, Unseen Servant. Can I send him across?
Sure. How long does your unseen servant last?
Um, simple task at your command until 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay. You summon your unseen servant. You become aware of his presence. Um, My master, what is it you command? An airy voice says.
Does he really sound like that?
Yes.
I don't buy it. Can you walk across this bridge for me and make sure it doesn't fall?
Yes, my master. He passes over the bridge. You can see the bridge shake and sway a little bit with his steps. He makes it across with no difficulty, and he's on the other side, and you hear him crawl out. The bridge is a bit rickety, but it seems to be safe.
Okay. So if I fall, you're going to catch me?
Yes, my master.
All right. Well, let's try it.
Okay. Is anybody not crossing the bridge?
We should only go one at a time.
Yeah, it's not a particularly wide bridge. You'll have to do that to begin with. And along those same lines, unless you
No.
state otherwise, I'm just going to use the party marching order on the order page to determine who goes across in what order.
Well, let's see.
No, that was a level 1 spell.
You have to
Did
take
that
off.
kill my
It's a slot.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Could we send Farkas and Spiderbait first, and then Fixer Upper for spotting purposes, then Melrath, then myself, and then Ront, then Snake, then Bob, then Hangers on, one at a time.
Yeah. Does anybody have a problem with that? Sounds like that's a no. Give me just a second. I was checking one more thing. Blah, 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 blah. Kyle. Quick question about your unseen servant. Was that a result of an invocation that you gained when you leveled up, or was that a spell that you chose for the spell level when you leveled up?
I think I chose it.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that you used a spell.
Yeah, the
that you
mage hand was the other one.
Okay, perfect. All right, so in that order, each character crosses the bridge, and I will roll a few things here. Okay. Everybody is actually able to cross the bridge in exactly the order that you mentioned. So now everyone is on the other side of the bridge. Are you guys going to continue onward?
I think we have something to do first.
What?
Burn the bridge?
Yeah.
Wow, he's good.
Oh my God, there's this burning theme again. A lot of things are getting burned tonight.
Well, could we just cut it?
Yeah, let's just cut it. That'll lead to less obtrusive.
Sure. So everybody in the party, I think at this point, has a number of drow knives that are available, and so you cut the bridge, and the slats, slam onto the other side. It makes quite a noise, but nothing seems to respond to it. So congratulations, you have also added additional time to the pursuit counter for the drow. So moving on, you guys continue along this passageway for like another 4.5 hours. It doesn't branch off at any point. You're just following it, and all of a sudden, a massive tremor starts to shake the area, and immediately behind you, the passageway that you had been in collapses, and then as you turn around to try to run forwards, the passageway in front of you, about 20 feet ahead, collapses. Um, and so you ultimately end up finding that as the tremor starts to subside, you suddenly feel a sinking sensation, and the floor underneath you collapses yet again. And as it slides down, you find yourself in a strange new space. So give me just a second. I'm putting on. Oops. No.
Blah.
There we go. That's what I meant to do. Oopsie.
Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, thanks. It.
Now we can get high and act like Axel.
What?
Okay, there's a story that I heard where Guns N' Roses had a concert to play. Axl Rose didn't even show up because he was high off his ass watching Ninja Turtles 3: Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah, so back to the game at hand. So now that you've fallen down into this other area, you find that there's really only one way out. It's a little bit to the north of here, yeah, send someone ahead to investigate.
Snake.
If Snake is gonna go, he's gonna have to roll a new sneak roll.
I'm tempted to send Bupito.
Poor Bupito.
Why not?
Oh, hey, Snake actually rolled pretty well for once. Yeah, okay.
For
So
once.
Snake, move yourself ahead wherever you'd like to be. Okay. Like that. And then I'm going to go a little more like that and a teeny bit like that. So at this point, you have to choose which direction you're going to head.
Oh no.
Actually, give me just a second longer.
Oh no. Can I be over here? Ooh, look at me. I'm in the wall.
So this area is filled with rough stone. The walls are about 10 feet high in this area, and they are glistening with dark dripping water.
Ew.
Yeah.
Is it oozy water, do you think? Would you call it oozy?
No, it looks like dark water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there pirates?
Not a little gelatinous, perhaps?
Not yet.
Blood
Why don't you
of the earth.
drink some and see what happens? Come on.
Why drink some when we can make water?
It's also an option. Speaking of Elda.
All right, I guess I'll lean west over east here, so we'll go west.
Sure. Okay. So up ahead, you can see that this rough passageway, the wall, possibly from the recent tremor, actually breaks into an area that appears to be fairly worked up ahead. There's flagstone. The wall has brick that's been laid in, and yeah. Oh, and I see that we also have a little bit of an investigation that way. So where are you going from here?
Is there anything up there?
Not as far as you can see. I'm trying to do line of sight with this to figure out how far ahead you can see. There's a lot more unworked stone up that direction.
Um,
I will very slowly and carefully check that direction just to make sure nothing will flank us.
Okay. Keep going, and I'll tell you when something occurs. Okay. Okay. There is a. I'm gonna switch over to drawing mode. Right about here. A lot of the water that drips down from the wall, there's a depression in the floor, and it is accumulated into a wet pool. Pool looks a little bit oily, perhaps. There is, however, a. It looks like there's some sort of um, humanoid skeleton in there. You can't see very well beneath the surface of it, but you can see that there's like a gloved hand sticking out, and it seems to be grasping some sort of dagger. There might be more deeper in the pool, but you'd have to investigate in order to know for sure.
Is it moving?
Nope.
If it's I think lighting things on fire in an enclosed space like this might cut off our air supply.
You do actually have a fairly limited air supply. There is the passageway up that you fell through, but even that doesn't have a ton of,
Stop blowing things up. Jeez.
Yeah, I was arguing myself.
Yes, yes. Well, win the argument against yourself.
Should we just go back the other way?
You want to stick your hand in there, Chris, and see what ooze attacks you?
I'm going to move back here and
Oh, okay, fine.
mention that there's a skeleton in there in the pool. It's holding a
Oh,
dagger.
Oh, no. Sorry, go ahead.
It's holding a dagger of some sort, but I don't want to risk whatever that liquid is.
How many feet are these squares? 10?
Each one of these is 5.
5. Oh, wow. So if I moved up here, I could talk to it within 30 feet?
If you move up to there. You could talk to what?
The hand. Is it connected to anything that talks?
Oh, I'm sorry. To be clear, the hand is decaying?
So it's not alive.
No. That
So I
doesn't mean
can't
it's not
talk to
intelligent.
anything.
Like if it was an undead creature like, I don't know, a vampire, that could talk to you.
But it's not connected to anything that I can talk to?
You reach out telepathically and find no response.
Womp womp.
This
All
is
right.
not 1995. You don't talk to the hand.
Well done, Chris. I like that.
All right, I guess I'll go into the other side.
Okay, so give me just a second.
Oh boy, that means there's monsters.
Okay, so I'm gonna go like that. So when you move into this space, okay, when you move into this space, I'm going to go like that and then like that. Sorry, give me a second longer. Right, that's what I thought. I'll just do it the way I did it before. When you move into the space, you suddenly hear a voice enter your head.
What
Why, hello
is that
there.
giant thing?
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, you are intelligent. Marvelous. Hello there. My name is Glabagool.
Can we call
Hello.
you G for short?
Well, I actually, sure, I suppose. I've never had a nickname. This is very exciting.
Where are we?
So first of all, just so that you have a sense of what it is that you're actually seeing. So you've moved up to the entrance to this little space. There are some of those dark, oily pools, similar to what Serlene already saw. And there is, see, that's the thing. While it appears on the map, you actually don't have a really good sense of where it is exactly in front of you. The space looks pretty much empty. But you can sense telepathic contact, and there doesn't really seem to be anything in the room. You have a general odd sort of sense of where it is, kind of like if someone was talking to you, you could, with your ear, pick out where it is. Your mind has a general sense of the approximate direction of the speaker. Okay, so yeah, there doesn't really seem to be anything in the room.
Oh, does that help?
Unfortunately, no.
That's
Okay.
probably a good idea.
But now that you've made contact, you are quite welcome to speak with it.
Where are we?
Ah, I don't know how to answer that question. We are in a complex. I have always been here. And by always, I mean for the past, I don't know, 2 weeks or so. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Are you dangerous? Can we trust you?
Well, are you dangerous to me?
Not if we don't have to be.
Oh, well then I think you're fine. If you don't attack me, I won't attack you.
It sounds like we're just talking to Alex.
Do you want me to do a voice for this one?
No.
Okay.
A non-aggression pact it is. By the way, I rolled a 22, if that helps.
Okay. Well, we're gonna hold on to that roll because at the moment you can't see anything to identify.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we can't physically see anything?
Yeah, it looks like the room is empty. There's the oily pools, and
What
there's
if we
little
move
doorway
into
that
the
goes
room?
to the north. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, for a second I thought you moved somebody other than yourself. Which would have been really funny.
What if we
Now
stand
that's a
in
strategy to
there?
use.
Well, once you move into the room, you actually still don't really see anything. Like I said, with the telepathy, you have a general sense of the direction of the speaker. You know they're to the north of you. But moving into the room, like, you don't touch the oily pools or anything, but there's nothing there.
But he's talking to all of us though, right? Not just me?
Oh yeah, no, he's talking to the entire party.
Yeah.
If I may, what are these pools that are dripping around?
I believe they're a substance known as water. But I could be wrong on that. I've only ever met one other sentient, and we didn't have much of an opportunity to talk, but I learned so much. It was thrilling.
Why can't we see you?
Which other sentient was it?
Oh, hold on a second. I'm gonna do these in order. Well, I'm just naturally transparent. But hold on a second. I think I can help with that. And some stones rise up from the floor and sort of float in air. I'm here, and then he kind of jiggles a little bit. Actually, there's no harm in that. And then you
Jiggles.
see this.
Labagoo?
That's what he's...
Gabagool.
Glabagool!
What's up, G?
Glabagool, now that you are able to see him and there is a Arcana roll that's sufficiently high, Glabagool is a creature generally known as a gelatinous cube. Would you like to know more about gelatinous cubes?
Yes, please.
Gelatinous
hungry.
cubes scour dungeon passages in silent, predictable patterns, leaving perfectly clean paths in their wake. They consume living tissue and while leaving bones and other matter undissolved. A gelatinous cube is all but transparent, making it hard to hard to spot until it attacks. A cube that is well fed can be easier to spot since its victims' bones, coins, and other objects can be suspended inside the creature and seen quite clearly. One of the most notable and important things to be aware of is that gelatinous cubes are not intelligent, nor are they sentient.
So why is this one?
You might ask him that question yourself. However, before we go too much further with those questions, Chris, you asked something and I don't want to ignore you.
What was the other sentient being?
I asked it what the other sentient was that it talked with briefly.
Oh, well, he identified himself as... Ah! I literally ran into him. I was exiting a space, and as I did so, this thing ran into me, and then suddenly was absorbed. And
Imagine that.
while he was inside of me, I couldn't exactly get him out because he was thrashing a lot, but we had a brief conversation in his last moments. Yes.
Are you real?
But you have to forgive me. I've only been in existence for, like I said, about 2 weeks or so. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Can you help us find the exit?
Uh, well, maybe. I know this place fairly decently, and most importantly, I can keep some of the other more dangerous denizens out of your way, perhaps. I mean, but if if I do this for you, you have to answer my questions.
What are your questions?
Well, no, we can just do it as we walk along, but like,
Oh, okay.
what are you, for example? Because I note that there is a difference between you and that little one over there. Like, you have, what are those bony protuberances from your head? And he starts going into all of these like very basic questions um, that are actually really quite easy to answer. His intelligence is up there. He seems to be about as intelligent as the average person, but he lacks a basic a base of knowledge from which to interpret the world around him, and so that's where a lot of his questions are targeted. How long would you like to, entertain these questions? Because it gives you guys the opportunity to ask stuff back if you have anything else you want to do before we go on.
I'm already tired of the questions.
Marvelous. Um, does anybody else have any last thoughts that they want to express or question the ooze about?
I'll just ask him about the hand clutching the dagger and real quick.
Uh, I don't know anything about that. That is not an area that I generally have moved into. I kind of have
Yeah.
to squeeze myself in a little bit to fit in that passage. It's not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world, so I don't go that way.
Very well.
Anything else?
I think that'll do it.
Okay. Um, so at this point, I'm gonna go like this. Bloop. So as Glabagool slides in through this passageway up ahead of you, like he cleans up dust, he cleans up like small bits of debris, and he kind of just really just makes this area pretty much shine. The stonework is not especially interesting. There's no reliefs on it or anything like that. But as he stretches and spreads out to fill the largest space, because he is a large creature, he takes up 2 by 2 squares normally. You find that when he comes into this next room, that there are some stirrings in the pool, and the creatures that seem to be in those spaces will press up against the wall and try to stay back and away from Glabagool as he moves further to the north. The creature seems to have no malice towards you. It seems quite friendly. Um, it has a friendly tone. It hasn't asked a single thing that's been menacing. It continues to ask questions. It has a genuine curiosity about you and where you're from and what your life story is and all that sort of thing. Um, and so, and bloop. You move further north into another space, and then finally there's a long passageway off to the right. And at this point, Glabagool kind of stops in this room, and he says, "Well, uh, if y- do you guys really need me to go down this passageway off to the east here? It's a particularly long stretch, and it took me quite a while to get through there in the first place. And just as a point of reference, this creature has a movement speed of 15 feet, which is half of your movement speed. So waiting for it to move forward and fill in that space actually takes a lot longer walking through. It's like half a mile or a mile and a half per hour in terms of walking speed. That's how fast you're going.
I mean, we're all. I mean, the only major thing that we have to worry about is limited air, given the number of people down here.
Yeah. And so far, the air has been fine. There hasn't been any particular issues with air quality. You've only been down here so far, I don't know, like, let me think.
Don't say hours. Don't
20
say we've been
minutes.
talking. Okay.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Because, he moves slowly, but it also isn't a lot of space that's been traversed. These are only 5-foot squares, so.
Oh, can we move up here and see what's down the hall?
Well, actually, here's what I'll do. I'm gonna swap you around here for a minute. If you're gonna move on without Glabagool, then he'll just move to the
No, I'm just
side.
looking.
No, I understand, but he'll move to the side, and then I gotta figure out how far you can see. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Okay, so you would think they would have considered that. Boop. There you go. Passageway extends a good 55 feet down off to the east, and then it seems to turn a bit to the south.
What do you think, guys?
Oh, I would also point out that unlike some of the watery pools that you can see on this map so far, there's actually no water. It seems to be, for the most part, be fairly dry down in that direction.
I'd like to get away from Glabagool, so yeah, let's go.
You're scared of him?
Well, I don't want him to touch me because I don't get sucked into his stomach.
Actually, Glabagool says that he has control over whether or not he is able to digest a creature or expel it.
Oh, okay. Good
Don't
for
want
him.
him to expel me either. I guess we can't see unless we get all the way over, huh?
Correct.
Well, that's
Anyway,
lame. Who wants to go
Glabagool
first?
kind of chills in that particular area and gives the party the opportunity to pass. So everybody now has their particular marching order. That works for me. I'm going to go ahead and reveal a small space here, and this is what you can see. Up ahead, hold on a second, is there a proper description? There's a chamber to the south, and it seems like there's a couple different things. Off to the east, there is some rough stonework. It looks like some of the wall has kind of collapsed. You can see the debris on the map. And to the south, there's a pool. There's a smaller pool up to the north. The same oily black pools you've been seeing everywhere else. The passageway that heads off to the east is pure rough stone, kind of like the stuff that you already came through already. And it's kind of impossible to tell exactly when this damage occurred, but it might be part of these tremors that you've already been feeling a whole bunch of. However, off to the west, it looks like the chamber has been divided into 4 hallways and floored with heavy flagstones. The flagstones here are a lot bigger and wider for those people who see my house in Pennsylvania. They had we had those big slate pathways. It's that kind of floor beneath you, about that width. And so, furthermore, the 4 hallways also seem to have are carved with worn and faded bas reliefs. They show strange swirling shapes that might be waves or tentacles or some combination thereof, and each hallway has a slightly different set of these reliefs.
I'm going to do knowledge religion on these.
In order to do that, you'll have to move into one of the hallways.
Move into here first.
Okay. Nothing happens.
I will move into here.
Okay. Give me just a second. How do I do this?
Can we stand in the water, or is that a bad idea?
You can try it and let me know how that works out for you.
It's just a little oily. What could go wrong?
First off, I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to also... gonna try to figure out how to get this reveal just right. And then give me just a second because I'm checking one other thing. I need my book. It's not doing something it's supposed to do. What a surprise. Almost. Here it is. Okay, now I know what I'm up for. Anyways, so you were going to roll religion. Go ahead.
Okay. Religion.
Oh.
Okay. So in studying the shapes on the wall, first of all, they don't make an awful lot of sense. It's difficult to tell where one ends and one begins.
There's a
And
20, by the way.
oh, there's a 20. You have to wait.
Let's all roll.
Hey, always all roll because unless I tell you that it requires someone proficient in it, you can always get that 5% natural 20 and yada yada yada. Anyways, Tazaroth can't make heads or tails of it, but as the fixer-upper takes a look at it, he believes that
Snake, you mean?
oh, it was Snake. I'm so sorry. I just assumed that the really high religion roll came from the fixer-upper. My mistake.
It would make
Snake
more sense.
takes a closer look at it and recognizes that to some extent this is a meditative piece. It is something that people of a particular religion would stare at, contemplate the meaning of in the context of their larger religion. So unfortunately for you guys, that doesn't really tell you an awful lot. But to be perfectly frank, while there are these reliefs, they're worn and faded to begin with. Not all of them is there. There are chunks that have fallen off like plaster from the shaking. So you don't have a complete picture of the wall to begin with. But your sense is that the most likely use for these is the meditative purposes that I mentioned. Now, why they were divided into 4 passageways, couldn't tell you, but there you go.
Well, Serlin, you want to go down that passageway?
Yeah, march
I'm
right
on
down that sucker.
I'm gonna get Fargus over here to try and check for traps
Oh, Fargus.
with his spying.
Okay, I will roll for Fargus.
Thank you.
Forgot about Fargus.
Plus, actually, what is his? Wait a minute. Oh wow, yeah, he's pretty good. So he rolls a 23 on perception, and so Fargus finds. Excuse me a moment. Fargus explores the area for a short time, and he very carefully makes steps forward each time. He finds that that particular square that I have put an X on is is unable to sustain an awful lot of weight. As he's investigating it, he sees that the rock is kind of porous, and when he takes a closer look and sort of jabs it with his dagger, he finds that it actually pokes a hole right through the slate tile, and he can see that there's actually a pit underneath it. It looks like it's about 10 feet deep. Maybe it's kind of hard to tell through a pinpoint in a hole, but there's a pit down there. Now that said, these are all 5-foot squares, so it's entirely possible, especially if you take a running start, for everyone to very easily jump and clear that space. But if you do so, he wouldn't be able to tell you what lies beyond it if there are further trapped tiles.
So I have a better idea. Let's break it on purpose and fill it in.
Okay. What exactly do you have in mind?
It's
Are you just gonna stand on it?
no.
Oh,
What are you going to fill it in with?
I was hopeful.
I'm gonna whack it with my.
With your what?
I have a sword.
Oh,
Wait, do
no.
we still have the couch?
No, you did not bring that along with you. I'm sorry.
Damn it.
Yeah. So, yes, you can whack it with your sword. It's not good
As
for your sword, by the way, to generally whack pieces of stone with it. That's not what it was made for.
it's unbelievably dull anyway. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So,
what
all right. So you go ahead, you
what
give
what
it a solid whack. Um,
what I was thinking of filling that hole in with was some of the debris that had fallen due to all the shaking.
oh, there's not enough debris to fill in that hole, but at least you'll know where it is.
Not even at the starting.
Oh, you want to go all the way the fuck back there? Grab enough debris to fill a potentially 10-foot deep pit, drag it all the way up here, and fill in that hole repeatedly because it'll be more than one trip.
I mean, there's 10 of us or so.
I don't think Alex wants us to do that.
I mean, you guys are welcome to do whatever you want, whether it's a waste of time or not. So make your choice.
Can we throw something at the tile beyond it to see if that pokes a hole?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a chunk of rock about the size of your fist. You can throw that. There's no telling necessarily whether it would set off one of these tiles to begin with, but yeah, you can do that.
Can we have Fargus jump?
Oh, Fargus is a little bit nervous, but he's willing to give it a chance. He has a good bit of agility, and he thinks he can make it. So, Fargus, if I remember correctly, I'm checking some jumps here. Yeah, Fargus goes back to about where Tazarath is currently located on the map, takes a running start, leaps right there because he's used some chalk to mark the tile, um, and he does a running leap and lands right here. I'm going to continue applying his roll so I don't have to just keep rolling for things over and over again. He's able to There we go. He's able to go ahead. He finds that past that bend in the passageway, it actually comes back down around and towards the south. There is a large door there, and give me just a second because I'm going to double check something. The large door doesn't really seem to have much of a particular pattern to it. Um, it's very smooth. It's very flat. It's made of a black stone. It is a door that has the axis for it in the center of the door, meaning you push on the left and the right comes out towards you. Does that make sense?
It's a revolving door.
Yes, exactly. The most notable feature down this particular way is that there is a let me just triple check. Yeah, there is a skeleton in front of the door. It's just a pile of bones right there in front of the door.
Wait, is it standing or is it in a pile?
It's in a pile. It's not animate.
Oh. Ah.
Oh, and actually, because I just realized that the fixer-upper is looking down this passageway.
And where is the door?
Here?
Does Fargus move
He
closer
does,
or?
but only party members reveal map.
Oh, okay.
That is the disadvantage of sending them off ahead, because if they never come back, you'll never know it was out that way, except that they didn't come back.
Tempted to try and jump over, but my abysmal dex score means I might just trip
Oh
and.
no, there's no roll required. All you have to do is just say, I'm going to take a running jump. You can easily clear that distance according to the calculations in the book.
Alright, I'll jump over here.
Okay. You make the running jump. You find, true to Fargus's word, that none of this space over here collapses, at least in the 2 squares that you've explored already. So move your character so I can reveal stuff. There we go.
Broing.
Okay. Keep moving them.
Ah,
Okay.
don't step on me.
There we go. Okay, so now that you've made it there, actually you can see down this passageway now. So you've come to this revolving door. So directly in front of Tazarath at his feet, there is a pile of bones.
Can we poke it?
Yeah, there's some stuff in with the pile of bones as well.
Fixer Upper is going to cast Detect Magic.
Okay, give me just a second.
That's probably a good idea.
From this area, you do not detect any magic. However, I would like to point out that because there is a door in front of you, detect magic does not work through stone as much as 1 inch thick. Okay? So if there is magic on the other side of the door, you would need to recast the spell.
Alright, so there was nothing on... You said there were some items on the skeleton, so that's why I
None of
cast
them
it.
glow magic. No.
Okay.
But I also bring it up because if you would have normally waited for the door to open, I could be persuaded to just not make you use 2 spell slots. Do you know what I mean?
Alright, well then we need Fargus to check the traps in the door.
Okay. Fargus, I'm gonna roll for him. Ooh. Uh, Fargus gets a 21 for
Nice.
actually I'm sorry, 23 for checking the door. He checks all around the edges. It's pretty clear that he's a professional when it comes to this sort of thing. His what is this to prevent blah blah? He checks the entire door, and he declares it to be safe for use. He's kind of like standing to the side of the skeleton, trying not to disturb it. He's a little squicked out by it, but yeah. Do you want him to
And what?
open the door?
Yes.
Quick question: what items are on the corpse?
Investigating the corpse. What a novel idea. Uh, Tazarath reaches forward and starts to sort of push through the bones and whatnot. What you end up finding is that there were some rags of an outfit. There is looking at the skull and the way that it's shaped. It is a humanoid skull, and it takes you just a little bit to determine that it is likely the skull from an elf of some sort.
Oh, what a shame.
Based on the shape and whatnot. Also, the elven skulls have a particularly noteworthy auditory passage, which you can see. Anyways, it seems to be of elven origin. There is a dagger. The dagger is stylized. It has a grip, and on the pommel of that grip is carved into a black stone the shape of a spider. The blade itself is rather wickedly curved in a blade-like fashion. You also find upon him a stamp of some description. It has again a spider design on the stamp itself. It seems like the handle at one point may have had some sort of leather around it, but that it has vanished, leaving only polished brass. And so yeah. You sort through the rest of the remains, and that's pretty much it. The bones are very clean, picked clean, in fact.
Is Glabagool following us down the hallway, or is he just chilling?
He's chilling. You guys said you didn't need him, so he stayed where he was.
So I see no reason not to take the dagger and the stamp.
Okay. You can add both of those to your inventory. I think Signet Stamp is the appropriate item from the player's handbook equipment list.
Signet ring.
Yeah, that'll do.
And what was the other thing?
A dagger. They're actually pretty identical to the daggers that you picked up from the fuck, what's it called? The outpost.
Yeah, I'll leave the dagger then.
Okay.
Somebody else can take it. Give it to Bupito.
Bupito loves daggers. He's very excited. Okay. So, right. So you guys are gonna open the door now? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, Fargus is going to do it for us.
Okay, Fargus will open the door. He is very confident that it is safe. Okay. Inside.
So now the detect magic's on. Just saying.
What do you mean?
The detect magic's on. Is all I'm saying.
Meaning that
Right?
you're casting it again, or the duration allows you
The
to...
duration's 10 minutes, so
Oh!
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we're cool.
Okay.
This room contains a stone fountain with a raised edge. The basin contains a shallow, brackish water, and at the center of the pool, the rubble of a broken statue rests atop a pedestal. All that remains are recognizable are a pair of clawed stone feet clutching the pedestal's top. Now, carved into the walls are 7 niches. You can see them, the little semicircular pieces. Um, Water seeps in through one niche via a crack, and then the other 2 niches flanking it are empty. Now, weirdly enough, there are some strange formless sculptures that occupy the 4 remaining niches. Okay, they are floating atop pedestals. They are magical. And with the naked eye, you can actually see that there is a thin blue sheen that surrounds them. Now, when I said that they were strange formless sculptures, they actually move very, very slowly, kind of rotating.
Uh,
Oh, hold on. There's one other thing. You can also sense that there is some magic at some point in the bottom of the fountain basin. Water does not prevent detect magic. That's what I was taking a second to check on.
Would Arcana rolls help here?
that's what I was going to say.
For what?
Just for the magic. I
Oh,
For
mean,
the statues?
actually, hold on. Yes, it will. However, one of the things that Detect Magic allows you to do is, at the longer you spend studying a magical field, you can pick up at least the spell school that is relevant to it. Okay?
okay.
So you spend a little time, you're investigating it, you determine that there's alteration magic going on here. So knowing that, you guys will have a small bonus to your Arcana checks. Roll your number, I'll add it mentally, and if you achieve the appropriate number, I'll tell you more information.
Da, 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 da.
Okay.
Well, I'm useless in this.
There. Now we have everybody. At this point, Snake, naturally, is the person who is most able to identify these. And Snake has a bit of a personal connection to this. He investigates the field for a moment, and he... Wait a minute, was it Fixer Upper or Snake who cast Detect Magic?
Fixer upper did.
Okay. So he consults with the fixer-upper, and they discuss the information he's getting from his detect magic about the field. He asks some questions, and his eyes widen. And he says, "I know what this is. These are stasis fields. These aren't statues at all. These are just creatures trapped in stasis."
Hmm.
Yeah, time magic has this exact little sheen to it, and
Hmm.
the sheen is added in the magic so that you won't fucking touch it, because you can have the stasis field suddenly extend to you.
Hmm.
So if we walk away, they'll stay in stasis, right?
Well, Snake considers that for a moment. As long as nothing passes into the field, like if you, for example, were to throw a dagger at this stasis creature, you could pop the bubble. It's not a very strong field. Just touching it lightly, an investigatory touch, could actually cause it to extend and cover you too. But if you were to throw a rock at it or you know push some particular force in its direction, that would be enough to pop it like a bubble, and then whatever's in there would flop out.
And I don't think we want that.
I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna judge. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't.
Hmm.
Can I attempt to talk to them?
Well, they're in stasis. They wouldn't be able to communicate with you anyways. They're out of sync with,
Telepathically?
they're out of sync with your time frame.
Well, that's stupid.
Well, it's not if you're trying to trap something.
Gosh. Is there any writing nearby?
Oh, this room has some of the same
Blah blah blah.
that was unusual. This
Blah
room
blah
has some of
blah.
the same bas reliefs as the passageways that you came through, but it's no more complete in here. And the reliefs are also much more abbreviated because there isn't really the space on the walls. Like, look at the little sort of half circle between each of the niches. That's barely 5 feet. So there's nothing in here that's super helpful. So yeah.
Can I talk to Globagool from here?
No, no, the stone
Damn it.
prevents telepathy even if you're within 30 feet. You have to have a straight line
I
of
don't
sight with
believe
it.
that. So we
I'm
can't.
not sure what I meant.
We also can't see into the stasis field. It just looks like statues, right?
Oh no, you can see into the stasis field. It looks like oh, I'm trying to think of the name of that particular mineral. Give me just a second. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see if I can. That might be it. Does it have a name? No. Why does none of these things have names if you're trying to identify something by Googling it? Ah, I found the answer. It looks like tourmaline. Tourmaline. It is a
Tourmaline.
Yes, that's it. I fucked up the name. It looks like tourmaline. It's surrounded by a blue, very thin bubble, but it looks like formless tourmaline. You can Google it real quick if you want to see what that looks like. I recommend it.
I play in a tourmaline desert fairly often, so.
Seriously?
What's a level in Mech Warrior?
Oh,
okay.
okay. Yeah, now I'm with you. I was like, oh, okay, you have interesting pastimes. But anyways, so the only other thing in here that you guys haven't really done much else with is the fountain and the magical objects within.
Can we examine them?
You would have to reach your hand into the water.
Yeah, no.
Does someone have?
Well, actually, there is one other thing that you could do. I hesitate to bring this up because I was hoping someone might recognize it themselves, but the fixer-upper has create or destroy water.
Destroy water?
Yeah, he can actually just destroy water.
Should he do it?
Sorry, I always just think of it as creation. But yeah,
You could actually, I think, destroy the entire basin of water in here.
you can destroy up to 10 gallons of water in an
Oh.
open container within range.
It won't destroy all of it. It will probably lower the. Actually, I don't know how to calculate volume for a fountain.
How deep is the fountain?
Well, I'm looking at this. It actually doesn't say. That's the thing.
Are there
Because
coins at the bottom?
The issue is that it gives us the information about how much is destroyed in terms of gallons rather than a square footage. If it simply said it destroys, 10 feet of water, 10 cubic feet of water, that would cover the entire fountain. The whole thing would be destroyed. You know what I mean? So, oh, I have an idea.
If you could ballpark how many feet deep it is.
I'm checking something.
Well, maybe I could cast it twice. I mean, I do have 2 spell
Ooh.
slots.
Hold on a second. There are 7.8 gallons in a cubic foot, and there are 10 feet here, but it's also not a perfect 10-foot square. Wait, so it's 4 feet tall by 5 feet by 5 feet.
I was using let's see, 7.5 feet as the radius. So pi r squared times times however deep this mess is,
Okay.
minus the volume of the cylinder.
I'm gonna say that the depth of the fountain is 3 feet.
Times 3. Okay.
So it should come up to about mid-thigh on most characters except for Eric.
2.5 squared times pi times. Okay. Minus. So, okay. So how many cubic feet are in a...
I think for simplicity's sake, since this is actually kind of slowing us down, I'm just going to let Brett go ahead and just cast it once and be done with it. We'll say that clears it out.
Okay.
I think a single spell slot is fair.
It's fine.
Yeah. Brett goes ahead and casts a spell. Mark off the spell slot, please. The oily aspect of the fountain, for the most part, evaporates away. There's some kind of slime that sticks to the edge that apparently wasn't water. Surprise, surprise. Ah. Anyways, it, however, does not move. It does not attempt to eat you. So, in the bottom of the fountain, you guys are able to locate a couple of objects. And hold on one second.
Are they pennies?
Okay, I'm back. After raking around in the muck a little bit, you produce. Actually, pop over to the inventory page on the party sheet because the information is going to get dumped in there. You locate 112 silver pieces, 41 gold pieces. Well, that was identified, and it probably should have been. Oh yeah, everything is just there. Wonderful. Yeah.
Huh?
Can you guys? What does the description in the party sheet say for you?
Green gold bracelet.
That's it.
Yeah, it doesn't
3 of them.
identify.
The other things aren't identified.
Nope.
There's potion. I see
And
potion
dagger.
and dagger.
Okay, perfect. The dagger and the 2 potions are magic. The green gold bracelets are not.
They're just pretty.
They are. Now, a reminder, also because I don't think that Kyle has come across magic items yet that need to be identified. Here's how identification works in this game. Each player can sit down for 10 minutes with an object. They spend some time with it, they turn it over, they sort of get a feel for it, and then they will get a basic understanding of what it is that this magic item is and does. So, the downside to doing this is that in the event that any object that you identify is cursed, you would not be aware of that. Now, in order to use many magical items, especially ones that have abilities like I can cast light or whatever, you will need to attune to it, and there's a limit to the number of items you can be attuned to. So there is no cost. Any character, even if they're not magical, can sit down and identify items. But if you have an identify spell, not only will it tell you immediately what an item is, but it will also tell you if that item is cursed or not. Okay?
Does rolling Arcana help at all, or is it different for magic items?
You mean for determining curses?
Yeah, or just
No, only identify is able to help tell you whether or not an object is cursed.
Okay.
But anyways, I think that it's safe to assume you guys are going to spend the 10 minutes to figure out what these items are.
Sure. Somebody else should get the dagger. I've been hoarding tons of stuff.
Okay. So, looking at the dagger, the first thing that you recognize is that this is a +1 Drowcraft dagger. It is exceptionally well made. It has a +1 bonus on attack and damage. It is a piercing magic weapon. So, if a creature requires magic weapon to overcome its resistances, this will do it. The next item that is discovered is the oil of slipperiness.
Mhm.
This sticky black unguent is thick and heavy in the container, but it flows quickly. The oil can cover a medium or smaller creature along with the equipment that it's carrying. Applying this oil takes 10 minutes, but then the creature gains the effect of the freedom of movement spell for 8 hours. Alternatively, the oil can be poured over the ground as an action where it covers a 10-foot square, duplicating the effect of the grease spell in that area for 8 hours. So that is the oil of slipperiness. The last item that you discover is a red vial. It has a fluid and it smells strongly of mint. It turns out to be a potion of greater healing. Any character that drinks this magical fluid regains 4d4 plus 4 hit points. Whether you drink it or administer it to another character, that doing so takes an action.
Neat.
Yeah. So, who wants the Drowcraft dagger?
If no one else wants it, Snake will take it.
Okay.
I want all of the bracelets. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
It's too late. You got the bracelets. Who wants to get the
I'll take it.
All right, greased up Eric.
An incredibly slippery dwarf.
Greased up Melrath.
On a serious note, who's going to get the potion of greater healing? It's the only potion of healing your entire party has.
Shouldn't that go to the cleric as well? Or maybe someone else to spread it around?
Both are valid, but I need a person to volunteer to take it.
The cleric will take it.
Okay. The heck? There we go. All right, and then distribute the wealth. Okay. So now the party has a total of 50 gold pieces and 110. Oh.
It's slightly odd.
Yeah, it is. Chris, add a gold piece and 2 silver
Yeah, skip.
pieces.
You're the hoarder.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
we have the appropriate number.
Done.
Okay. Let me just do a quick refresh. There we go. Okay, everything's fine. So, congrats. You have looted this fountain and plumbed its secrets without risking anyone. So at this point, there's really only one place left to investigate. So let's get that out of the way.
Hup.
Okay. So as you approach this area, suddenly there is a stream of about 7 or 8 rats that come out from this corridor and then run up to the north and off to the west. They're normal rats. They don't seem to have anything wrong with them. They're not especially huge. They're just rats. So
Can we kill them for extra meat?
Ew.
you can, but I have a feeling that neither Snake... Well, actually, Snake probably wants those rats, doesn't he? Doesn't he? This Repper might be a little too highbrow for that, but not Snake. Anyways. Yeah, you could do that. It's an option. They're not difficult to kill.
I would hope not.
Not for second level characters anyway. First level characters might have to roll. Anyway,
Glorious rat meat.
yeah, for the purposes of this, we'll narratively add rat meat to your pool of appropriate meats.
Barf.
I'm just gonna go ahead and go like that. Whoa, 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 whoa! I did not mean to do that. Hold on a second. This way.
He's jumping in.
Yeah, exactly. So I will, however, do that. There we go. So as you go down the passageway, you can already hear the sound of pouring water, and when you move close enough, you can see that water is entering through cracks in a 10-foot high ceiling. And given the rate that the water flows in, you're pretty sure that the cracks were caused by the tremor that you experienced that brought you to this complex in the first place. That means that not only do you have to worry about oxygen, but at some point the water is going to flood this entire complex. Um, Now, it takes a couple of minutes, but you're able to determine that the water is going to rise at the rate of about a foot per hour until the tunnels are completely flooded. No telling how well the oxygen will hold out until that point, but it looks like the area that it's leaking through in the ceiling is pretty weak already. So you might be able to chip away a bit at it further and widen it. Right now, the water is coming through a space about the size of your fist.
Now, do we want to flood the tunnels and get back up to where it was coming from? Or do we want to
Technically,
break it?
oh, go ahead.
Or do we want to break it on purpose, run back to our starting point, and see if we can continue down the original path as the water pushes upward and we get back up to something approaching our previous?
What about our friend Gobbity Ghoul?
Do you want to go talk to him about it before you take any action?
No, I just want to save him.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm kidding.
okay. Sure.
Should we throw a javelin at the ceiling?
It's
Would that break it?
yeah. I mean, if you guys are determined to crack it open, it won't be difficult for you to do so. What I was going to say is that technically, of all the spaces you've explored, since you have in fact explored them all, um, there actually isn't any other way out of here.
Right. So we ended up here with a seismic shove, as it were.
Yeah. And the passageway that you fell through had already become blocked off in the front and in the back. So rising back up isn't actually going to help you out. So at this point, if you if you wade into the water and then start, making holes in the ceiling, at some point it's going to fill up enough to let you swim through and come out onto the other side.
Right.
So where exactly that's going to lead and how much water is above you is kind of an unknown, but it's also potentially the only way you have out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. That would be an athletics check, wouldn't it?
To do what?
To swim up through that?
Yes and no. It depends on how much water there is. If you end up having to swim for an extended period of time, like say 2 minutes, you might have to start making some constitution checks to hold your breath. But yeah, potentially.
Ron.
Put him to work.
Oh, you're gonna have him widen the hole?
Sure.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for.
So Ront is shoved to the front and gets a very stern look from the fixer-upper, who nods his chin at the hole in the ceiling. Ront looks a little bit nervous, and he also looks an awful lot like the rats that escaped, only a lot wetter. And so he uses the hilt of his axe, and he jabs it into the ceiling. And he jabs it a couple times, and then suddenly there is an almost explosive burst of water, and it really starts rapidly flooding in. The water that's rushing in washes away even more of the rock, and it starts to flush back into the passageway that you guys were already in. It's not too difficult to actually sort of hold yourself against it, but you can feel it, pushing at your ankles, pushing at your calves, and then up to your mid thigh. And it turns out that conveniently enough, uh, the water kind of slows down a bit, and you guys are able to make your way up into that space, and you find that there is a cave opening up there. There was some pool that used to be in the middle of this cave. Where it came from is not entirely clear, but you found yourself in another passageway, um, or sorry, another cave, and there is a single passageway leading out of it. So you have successfully managed to escape from the completely unidentified location that you were in. So at this point, since there is only one other passageway out, you guys head out to the north, and almost immediately, within about 5 minutes, the passageway comes to another cave, and it spreads out in 6 different directions. Um, and you guys take a moment
Wow.
to sort of scout, looking down various different passageways, and the Kuatoa, who is a pacifist and thus has been largely quiet through most of this party that's been with you, um, he suddenly makes a smacking noise with his lips quite loudly, and he goes, "My friends, that way! It is towards the dark lake, and Sloob Dooldop awaits." So yeah, you guys continue down that passageway for a bit, and continue on with your journey. About a day and a half later, the party. Wait a minute. Let me also remove something here. Delete. I put some things in the combat tracker, and I want to get rid of them before I forget about them. There we go. The party is moving through a passageway, and there is a stone pillar up ahead of you. This passageway is about 12 feet wide, and the stone pillar up ahead of you is about 6 feet high, except that the top part of it has been broken off, fallen off, and it's crashed up against the wall. And the pillar has an unusual design to it, and Fargus immediately races forward, pushing his way past anybody who's up in front of the party ahead of him. And he reaches into his backpack and he excitedly pulls out a book and he goes, "Yes, yes, this is it! Oh my gosh, we found it! My friends, we found an amazing, lucky find. Please come this way." And he disappears into the wall.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Farkas, explain yourself immediately.
Hold on just a second. I gotta find the thingy for the next part.
Doesn't Farkas sound like Elijah Wood?
Yeah, just a little bit. Give me a second here. Click, 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 click. Here we go. A voice emanates from the wall. Uh, well, well, Tazareth, I don't know if we had the time to talk when we were back in the library in the Mad Mage's Undermountain, but I found this book on the lost tome of KM. In ages past, in the height of Faerun's great empires of magic, the there was a empire known as Netheril, and they were noted for their magical ability to make their own cities fly. They soared the skies over Faerun, and they used that advantage to oppress everyone in the lands below them. They never even had to grow their own food because all the other races were put to work serving their needs.
Ah, yes, I've heard great. Such a hierarchy like that is worthy pride.
And so this tome, this is one of the Netheril nobles. There's no telling what could possibly be inside of this, and whatever it is likely to be incredibly valuable. Now, at this moment, a soft, feminine voice sounds out in your mind suddenly, and it sounds faint and kind of distant. "Hello? Is someone there? Oh, please, I need your help. I've been trapped in the dark for so long, so very long. Won't you please help free me?" Everyone in the party falls silent for a moment, and Fargus goes, "Well, that came from behind me in the tome. Um, that's very suspicious because this tome is over 10,000 years old, and this could be a trap. But we were going to head in that direction anyway, so perhaps we might want to see who needs our help."
Or who's trying to trap us? Insight. God damn it.
Your paladinly instincts really just, come to life in this particular moment, and you just want to help. Oh man, would it feel good to just help? You charge forward.
Oh, and that one making me act completely out of character. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So now, welcome here. I'm gonna drop
Lost.
some
The
on
lost
the
tomb.
snake.
Land of Tombs and Krypton.
Ooh, hopefully we get to fight mummies down here.
All right. I believe that's everybody. You can arrange yourselves as appropriate. I'll read some descriptions here in a second, but I just want to get everyone on the map first. So you go to the wall is illusory, and that's what Fargus had passed into. So now that you've gone down this passageway a ways, you came to a door, and similar to the totally mysterious place with the ooze that you were just in, this door also has a central axis upon which it spins. So you've moved into this space, and you find that there is a stone diorama that stands to the right of the entrance, and it is depicting a sorcerer of Netherese origin in her prime, surrounded by attendants, slaves, and other trappings of wealth and power. There is a fantastic vista of floating cities that covers the wall to the left of the entrance. Um, that doesn't look right. To the left of the entrance?
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, I see the problem. I remember this. This fucked me up when I ran it the other time too. North is that away on this thing, and that's pretty fucking important.
Oh.
I don't know why they didn't just orient it to the fucking actual north of a page, because that screws with everybody's sense of perception. But I'm not a highly paid D&D professional. Anyways, so you find that in this space, there is a staircase which leads down, and a landing at the bottom of that staircase. Now, there are empty stone torch sconces that flank the dusty staircase, and then the landing is a 20-foot diagonal downwards at about a 45-degree angle. There is another like stone something or other down there at the bottom, but you can't really make anything out about it from here. So yeah, is there anything you'd like to investigate?
Who's our stealthy?
Well, so far there's no monsters that you can see.
So?
Just saying. Is anyone going to volunteer to scout ahead?
It's not a very good roll.
I'll roll my terrible roll. How did I roll well? That's -1.
There you go.
Wow.
Oh.
Everybody is doing their best to be quiet and cautious, and suddenly Melrath just vanishes from the room.
Where'd he go?
He fades into the fat air surrounding you. So Melrath moves down to the bottom of the staircase to scout ahead. Wow, and Bob got a good stealth score too.
Damn right.
So when you get down to the bottom, there is set into the back wall. There is a large stone, and you're not entirely certain what its function is. Fargus has some sort of a book that he's been referencing this entire time, so that might have more information if you drag him down here, but its the point of it is not immediately apparent from here. Okay?
Can we get Fargus?
Why, yes, you can. Just gonna go like that.
Fargus!
I'm gonna represent him. When Fargus comes down, he is a fucking nerd about this entire place. Oh my god, it is a Netherese stone calendar. We aren't even on it. That's amazing. We're living in the future, people. The future. In short, the stone calendar is not particularly useful for you guys, especially since, as he says, you are not on it. There's the stairwell that's going to descend down a ways into the next room. So if you're going to descend down it, drop yourself on the arrow, and I'll move us into the next space. Okay.
Bloop.
You guys can arrange yourself down there at the bottom while I start revealing more stuff.
Over here.
Okay. That's what the dotted line is for.
Oh,
As you move down the staircase, you find yourself at in a large room. There are shreds of dusty tapestries that are scattered across the floor. There are friezes on the walls that are defaced with deep gouges, making them completely unrecognizable. And there's an altar of pale gray marble, which also stands gouged and cracked up against that one wall to the, based on their thing, north or west? West. Um, there are also two doors, one to the north and another one to the east.
What did you say this thing up at the west was? Up top?
It is a altar of pale gray marble that stands gouged and cracked against one wall.
I think it's knowledge religion time.
Oh, if you want
Yeah,
to
the altars
check it
too.
out, because it is unrecognizable due to the deep gouges, anyone that rolls investigation might get a little more information about this area. Wow,
Damn!
you guys are the fucking Scooby crew, apparently. So, wow, everybody rolled really well on investigation. The party spreads out, taking careful note of a lot of these different gouges, and it looks like they happened relatively recently. Um, it also looks like some very large creature, because they're spread apart enough for it to be digits on a creature's hand, and they sunk into the wall fairly well. So whatever this creature was, it probably has some level of burrowing capacity to it, which in the Underdark is not that unusual. Um, but at the same time, even though the damage is relatively recent, you don't see any obvious footprints on the floor. The floor is fairly dusty, and you can see your own footprints, but you don't see anything that might have made it.
Should be something flying. Or
It would have
floating.
very large hands in addition to being flying. But
Or
the ceiling in
talons.
here is also 10 feet tall, so there is room for a flying creature. At this point, your options are to go to the weird north or the east.
Or the weird east.
Yeah, the weird east. Stupid compass.
I say weird north.
Okay. Are you guys gonna just walk through the door?
Oh. This door?
Yeah.
I was going to suggest mage handing it.
Oh.
Okay. Mage Hand takes a little bit, but it is actually able to push the door open. So the door opens, and you can see that it terminates, whoops, about here. There we go. In a wall up that direction. But that's all you can see from here. Will you enter the room? Yes, no?
Send Fargus in there.
Yeah, get Fargus to check for traps. He's a consummate professional.
He is at that. Let me roll for him. Check out the kitchen. He rolled a 12 plus his 5. So he rolled a 17 for perception. The door obviously isn't trapped, otherwise it would have been it would have gone off when it opened. But Fargus does move into here and does a quick scan around the room for traps, and then reports back to the party that the inside of the room is free from traps as far as he can tell. However, he thinks that there might be something odd about the sarcophagus to the northeast. But I'll only reveal things. There you go. When the party sticks its neck out. That would be some penalty. So, moving into this room.
Cool.
4 stone sarcophagi mark the resting places of someone. The lid of each of these sarcophagi bears the sculpted image of a robed human figure in repose. And there's no art on the walls in this particular space. And yeah. Now, based on his particularly good roll, Farkas indicates that this, just so that we're perfectly clear, that sarcophagus has something odd about it around the base. There's some weird inset into the floor, and something's not right about it.
Can we roll to find out what?
Yeah.
Can
You can investigate the sarcophagus. It's just, generally speaking, some players are a little awkward around going near these sorts of things, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to, opt
I
in.
was gonna say, mage hand it from a distance so as to knock it ajar, but
Oh, the lid for this is far too heavy for that.
oh,
Yeah. These things are marble slabs. Like, you're gonna have to really push in order to try to like open it up or whatever.
in that case, cover me while
While you what? You cut out.
I investigate.
Okay. So before we go with your investigation roll, are you going to be touching the sarcophagus?
Am I what? You
Are you
cut
gonna
out.
touch it?
Or are you just visually inspecting it? Because there's only so much you can learn from
I'm
visually
visually
inspecting. Okay, that's fair. So looking around, what you end up finding is that this particular sarcophagus is actually on a track, a rolling track. And if you were to push on it, you would be able to slide the entire thing out of the way over um, a good distance into the room towards this particular sarcophagus, and it could reveal something.
Can the mage hand push it?
Absolutely not. This thing is incredibly heavy, but it is also on rollers, but that's not enough for Mage Hand. Mage Hand has like 5 or 10 pounds of force on it.
Well, that's a lot.
Not
How
enough.
many people can cast mage hand? Get
Oh
a bunch
no.
of floating hands.
I have played Dungeons and Dragons long enough that that's not going to solve your problem. Party's gonna have to stick its neck out at some point. Oh,
Play patty cake with mage
Oh,
hands.
wait.
That'll.
Here's my other question. Can the mage hand touch the sarcophagus?
yeah.
Because you asked that question in such a way that I think something's going to happen.
So, I will let you know right now that one of my favorite things to do as a DM is to torture players.
This is true.
Yeah, Brett and Chris mostly can attest to this, I believe, and Eric too, because he played in the other game.
It's true.
Yeah. So formulate a plan. Let me know what you're gonna do.
Can I cast mage hand and have it just touch the top of the sarcophagus?
Sure. You materialize a mage hand. It runs its fingers over the top of the sarcophagus. Nothing happens actually.
Alright, let's just move it.
Okay. So you two get into position and you grab the sarcophagus in areas that you best can sort of grip, and between the two of you have decent strength roll. It's not going to be too hard. You actually are able to slide the sarcophagus over, and hold on a second. You end up materializing a 4-foot square hole in the floor. And it is going to actually lead into another area. However, when you do that, from each of the sarcophagus in the room, 4 ghostly apparitions arise. Wait, what? 4 ghostly apparitions arise. What the fuck? What the shit is going on here? Do I have to grab this? No.
Probably means 4, but 1 from each,
No,
and not
the issue
not
was that
16.
normally this this particular program generates them in specific spots on the map, and for some stupid reason, it is not doing what it's supposed to be doing with this one encounter. It's done it with a whole bunch of others, like when Glabagool showed up. But what I'm going to do is go like that, go like this, there. Now, more importantly than any of that, it is also 9:25. We have run over. I wanted to try to get us to a point of combat so that we could pick up from next time. So sorry for running over, but thank you guys so much for playing, and we will handle the specters that have arisen to nom on your face.
Cool. Sounds fun.
Lame.
Marvelous. All right. Well, like I said, thanks so much, you guys, and I will see you next week for the thrilling conclusion of Does the Party Get Its Soul Drained Away?